The attic had 47 floorboards. I'd counted them more times than I cared to remember. 12 roof beams crossed overhead, dark wood against darker shadows. The single window faced east, so I got morning sun and nothing else. My sister brought meals up on a tray 3 times a day. She knocked before entering, like I was a guest instead of a ghost. 3 years I'd lived up here. 3 years since the fire took my parents and my brother. 3 years since it took my face, too. And my hands, and any future I'd imagined for myself. I was 24 years old. I felt ancient. The scars ran from my left temple down my neck, spreading across my shoulder and arm like spilled ink. My hands bore the marks, too. Puckered skin where I'd tried to pull burning timber off my brother. I'd failed. The timber fell anyway. He died anyway. I lived anyway. That felt like the cruelest joke of all. Elizabeth. My sister's voice came through the door. I brought the newspaper. Leave it there. There's something I thought you might just leave it. Mary, please. I heard her sigh, heard her footsteps retreat down the stairs, heard the house come alive beneath me with sounds I was no longer part of. Mary's children laughing, her husband asking about supper, normal life, carrying on without me. I'd gone into town once, 6 months after the fire. A child had screamed when she saw me. Her mother pulled her away, apology and horror mixing on her face. A young man I'd known before had danced with, had thought might court me, visited the house once. He couldn't meet my eyes, never came back. After that, I stayed in the attic. I stopped looking in mirrors the second week. Why torture yourself with what you already know I ate from one plate, drank from one cup? I counted floorboards and roof beams and heartbeats. I measured my life in the distance between breakfast and supper. The newspaper sat outside my door for 3 days before I picked it up. I told myself I was only looking. Lies come easier when there's no one around to call you on them. I turned to the back pages, to the advertisements I'd seen before but never really read. Mail-order brides. Women seeking husbands out west. Men seeking wives to bring to frontier towns and ranch land. Most of the ads were depressingly similar. Seeking pleasant-featured woman. Must be comely and of good temperament. Fair of face and gentle disposition required. I read them anyway. It was something to do that wasn't counting floorboards. Then I saw one that was different. Widower. 2 children. Ranch in Montana Territory. Seeking woman of strong character. Appearance unimportant. Hardship likely. Kindness essential. I read it 17 times that first night. Appearance unimportant. Those 2 words felt like a hand reaching into dark water. I didn't grab it. Not yet. But I didn't look away either. 3 weeks passed before I let myself write the letter. 2 in the morning. Everyone else asleep. Just me and a candle stub and paper I'd found in an old desk. My hand shook as I wrote. The scars on my fingers made it harder to grip the pen. But I managed. I didn't lie. Couldn't see the point in it. Dear Sir, I wrote, I saw your advertisement. Before I waste your time or mine, you should know the truth. 3 years ago, a fire killed my family. I survived, but bear the scars of it on my face, neck, and hands. They are not slight marks or easily hidden. I am disfigured, if that matters despite what your ad claims. No need to respond. If it doesn't, I'm a woman of 24, educated, able to keep house and care for children. I don't know if I'm kind anymore. The fire burned that out too. Maybe, but I was. Once, I could try to be again. Yours truly. Elizabeth. I sealed it before I could change my mind. Before I could soften the words or make myself sound less damaged than I was, he'd either write back or he wouldn't. Probably wouldn't. I checked for mail every day and told myself I didn't care. 2 weeks later, his response came, "Dear Miss Elizabeth, I've lost too much to care about scars. My children need a mother with a strong heart. Come if you're willing. Train fare enclosed. James Brennan." The envelope held enough money for a one-way ticket to Montana Territory. I sat on my bed holding that letter for an hour. Maybe more. My sister found me there, still staring at it. "You're going," she said. "Not a question. I haven't decided." "Yes, you have. You decided 3 years ago when you stopped looking in mirrors." I stopped. Because you thought the scars were all that was left. Maybe he'll see different. I wanted to believe her. Wanted it more than I'd wanted anything since the fire. That night I packed one bag. Not because I was optimistic. I just didn't own more than one bag could hold anymore. The girl who went into that fire had owned trunks of dresses, drawers of ribbons. A future spread out before her like a feast. I was packing for someone else now. Someone smaller. Someone scared. I included the veil I'd made from black lace curtain. I'd wear it on the train. Wear it when I met him. Give him one last chance to change his mind when he saw what the fabric hid. "Write me," Mary said the morning I left. She was crying. Though whether from relief or concern, I couldn't tell. "I will. Elizabeth." She caught my arm. "You deserve this. Happiness. A life. Don't let anyone tell you different." I nodded because I couldn't speak. Because 3 years of holding everything in had made my throat forget how to release words that mattered. The train lurched forward. I watched my sister's house disappear behind me and didn't look back. Montana Territory stretched out endless and strange outside the train window. I'd never seen land so big, sky so wide. It made me feel small in a way that wasn't entirely unpleasant. In the attic, I'd been trapped. Here, I was just one more speck against an enormous canvas. The veil sat in my lap. I'd worn it through 3 territory changes, taken it off only in my sleeping berth. A woman in Omaha had asked if I was in mourning. I'd said yes. That felt true enough. The train pulled into the station at 2 in the afternoon. I saw him before he saw me. James Brennan stood on the platform with a child gripping each of his hands. He was tall, weathered in the way of men who work outside. Not handsome exactly, but solid. Real. The little girl wore a faded blue dress. The boy overalls with patches at the knees. I almost got back on the train. My hands shook as I gathered my bag. As I stepped onto the platform, I wore the veil like armor. It didn't help. He saw me, started forward. The children came too, uncertain steps matching his long strides. "Miss Elizabeth." His voice was deep, careful. I nodded. Couldn't manage words. "May I?" He gestured to the veil, asking permission. That stopped me. In 3 years, no one had asked permission for anything regarding my face. They'd stared or looked away or spoken to me like I was simple, but no one had asked. I nodded again. He lifted the veil slowly, gently. His eyes found my scars temple to jaw, neck to shoulder. The puckered skin of my hands visible where my gloves gaped. He looked at all of it without flinching, without pity, without the horrified fascination I'd learned to expect. "Hello," he said. "I'm James. You must be Elizabeth. This is Sarah and Samuel." As though I were any woman stepping off any train. The boy hid behind his father's leg, peeking at me with wide eyes. The girl Sarah stepped forward and took my scarred hand without hesitation. "Does it hurt?" she asked. Not anymore. Good. She smiled. Simple as that. Simple as breathing. Something cracked in my chest. Sharp and unexpected. Let me take your bag. James reached for it. The wagon's just over there. It's about an hour to the ranch. He carried my bag like it weighed nothing. Introduced me to the station master as Elizabeth. Hosh not the bride, or my new wife, or any of the dozen shameful ways he could have framed it. Just my name, offered plain and honest. I sat beside him on the wagon seat. The children climbed in back, Sarah already chattering about the ranch, the chickens, her favorite horse, named Daisy. Samuel said nothing, but watched me with solemn curiosity. The arrangement, James said as we left town behind. You'll have your own room. You'll care for the children, manage the household. No expectations beyond what I wrote. You can leave any time I'll pay return fare if it doesn't suit. You'd do that. The words slipped out. Even if I left tomorrow, especially then, I'm not in the business of keeping people prisoner. Miss Elizabeth, the word prisoner caught in my throat. I'd been my own jailer for 3 years. Maybe it was time to try freedom. Just Elizabeth, I said. No need for Miss Elizabeth. Then he glanced at me, something like approval in his expression. And I'm James. The ride took an hour, like he'd said. He pointed out landmarks. The creek where the children fished. The neighbor's fence line. The spot where elk gathered at dawn. Ordinary conversation. As though I were ordinary. I didn't trust it. But I didn't run from it either. That was something that was new. The first weeks passed in a blur of learning. How James liked his coffee strong and black. How Sarah needed her braids tight, or they'd fall out by noon. How Samuel wouldn't eat eggs unless they were scrambled. Never fried. Small things that added up to a household. A rhythm. Something resembling normal. I fumbled at first. Burned biscuits. Oversalted stew. Couldn't find anything in the kitchen. But James never complained. Just ate what I made and thanked me for it. The children were less diplomatic. This tastes funny, Samuel said the third night, poking at his dinner. Samuel, James warned. It's all right. I looked at the boy. You're right. I'm still learning. I'll do better tomorrow. He nodded, satisfied with honesty. Children usually are slowly. Things got easier. I learned where James kept the tools, how much feed the chickens needed, which floorboard creaked in Sarah's room. I learned the sound of his footsteps heavy in the morning, dragging tired at night. I learned how the children fought, loud and quick, and how they made up even quicker. I learned I'd stopped counting floorboards. James never stared at my scars, never asked about the fire. He looked at me the way he'd look at anyone direct. Brief. Then away to whatever task needed doing. It should have felt dismissive. Instead, it felt like relief. He noticed things, though. Small kindnesses I didn't expect. Fixed the sticky kitchen drawer without being asked. Brought me a shawl one evening when the air turned cold. Poured my coffee in the morning. And after a week, he made it how I took it without asking. He'd watched. He'd learned. The children loved me before I knew how to love them back. Sarah traced the scars on my hand one night while I tucked her in. Her fingers gentle and curious. Tell me about the stars, she said. Which stars? Sweetheart, all of them. Every single one. So I did. And when I stumbled on constellations I couldn't remember, she made up her own. The princess and the dragon. The dancing bear, the lost sheep finding home. Samuel brought me wildflowers with dirt still clinging to the roots. Carefully arranged them in a jar on the kitchen windowsill. Watched to see if I'd notice. I noticed. Thank you, Samuel. They're beautiful." He beamed, ran off to find more. Children see hearts, not faces. They loved me immediately, without question, without condition. It terrified me how much I needed that. The first trip to town came 3 weeks in. "Need supplies," James said. "You'll come with me." Children, too. I wanted to refuse. Wanted to stay at the ranch where I'd built a small pocket of safety. But I was his wife in name now. Hiding wouldn't serve either of us. I wore a bonnet with a wide brim. It didn't hide much. The stares started the moment we arrived. 2 women by the general store whispered behind gloved hands. A man crossing the street paused mid-step, staring until James cleared his throat and the man hurried on. Inside the store, the shopkeeper's wife made a show of moving merchandise I'd touched, as though scars were catching. I felt the old shame rising, hot and familiar. James noticed, said nothing. But when he introduced me to the shopkeeper, his voice was firm and clear. My wife. Elizabeth. Not the new wife, not helping with the children, just Elizabeth. Just wife. He asked my opinion on fabric for Sarah's dress, held the door. Carried the supplies like this was any Saturday, any town, any life. The stares continued. He never acknowledged them, just continued as though I were worth continuing for. On the ride home, Sarah chattered about peppermint sticks. Samuel fell asleep against my shoulder. James drove in comfortable silence. "Thank you," I said quietly. "For what?" "For not noticing them." The stares, he glanced at me. I noticed, didn't care. "Their opinions don't feed my children or run my ranch. Yours do." That night, lying in my room with the door locked from the inside, not outside, I realized I hadn't thought about the attic all day. Hadn't counted hours until I could escape. I just lived. The thought terrified me. The thought thrilled me more. The nightmare came 6 weeks in. I woke screaming, tangled in sheets. The smell of smoke everywhere, even though nothing was burning. In the dream, I wasn't in the house fire. I was in the attic, clawing at the door while flames rose outside. Trapped. Always trapped. I made it to the kitchen before my hands stopped shaking enough to light the lamp. The coffee pot felt impossible. My scarred fingers couldn't grip it properly. Couldn't manage the simple task of pouring water. Measuring grounds? I stood there at the pump, breathing too fast, trying not to fall apart. "Elizabeth!" I spun. James stood in the doorway, half-dressed, hair standing up from sleep. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to wake you." "You didn't." He crossed to the stove, took the coffee pot from my shaking hands. "Sit." I sat. He made coffee like he did everything steady. Competent. No wasted motion. Set a cup in front of me. Sat across the table with his own. Didn't ask what I'd dreamed. Didn't tell me it would be all right. Just sat there, solid as the table between us, while I tried to remember how to breathe normally. "I still hear her sometimes," he said finally. "My wife, Rebecca. She died bringing Samuel into the world. The baby before Samuel didn't make it either." I hear her crying out. And I wake up, knowing I can't help, knowing she's already gone. I looked up. His eyes were steady on mine. "Loss doesn't leave you," he continued. "You just learn to carry it different." Something about his honesty broke through my careful walls. 3 years of holding everything in, and suddenly I couldn't hold anything anymore. "I hid for 3 years," I said. My voice came out rough, broken. "In an attic? Because I thought the fire destroyed me. But it didn't kill me. and I was too much of a coward to finish what it started. So I just sat there, counting floorboards, waiting to die. But you didn't die. No. You wrote me a letter instead. That wasn't bravery, that was desperation. Same thing. Sometimes. He reached across the table, touched my scarred hand briefly. Not romantic. Just human. One survivor to another. You're here. You survived. That's what I see. Elizabeth. Someone who didn't give up. Even when giving up would have been easier. His hand on mine lasted 3 seconds. I felt it for 3 hours after. I cried then. Not pretty tears. The ugly, choking sobs I'd swallowed for 3 years. Grief for my family, for my face, for all the years I'd lost to shame and fear and the conviction that I didn't deserve to want anything anymore. James didn't leave, didn't try to hush me or fix it. Just sat there while I fell apart and proved that staying was possible. When I could breathe again, when the tears finally stopped, I felt emptied out. Lighter. Thank you, I said. For what? For not running. Where would I go? This is my kitchen, too. I almost smiled. Almost. The next morning. I expected embarrassment. Expected to want to hide from him. Instead, I felt strange relief. I'd shown him the worst of my pain, and he hadn't left. Maybe that's what trust was, showing someone your broken places and watching them stay anyway. I caught my reflection in the window while washing dishes. Didn't look away immediately. Studied my scars with something approaching curiosity instead of shame. They were still there. Would always be there. But maybe they didn't have to be the only thing I saw. Sarah's fever started on a Tuesday. By Wednesday, she was burning up, skin hot to touch, eyes glazed and unseeing. The nearest doctor was 3 hours away. James saddled his horse to ride for him, and I caught his arm. Wait, let me try first. He looked at me, at his daughter, back to me. You know healing. My mother taught me. Herbs, fevers, simple things. How simple. Simple enough to try before you lose 3 hours. He nodded. Trusted me. Just like that. I'd forgotten I knew these things. Feverfew for temperature. Willow bark for pain. Cool compresses to keep the fever from spiking too high. My hands remembered what my mind had tried to forget, Mama's voice teaching me to brew medicine, to read a fever's patterns, to trust plant knowledge over panic. Sarah thrashed and mumbled. I dosed her carefully, monitored her breathing, changed the compresses every hour. James sat with me, following my instructions without question. When I said, hold her up so she could swallow the medicine, he did. When I said we needed more cold water from the well, he fetched it. He'd seen me survive fire. He trusted me to help Sarah survive fever. We took shifts through the night. During mine, Sarah's eyes opened, glazed with sickness. She looked at my face, really looked, the way children do without filter or fear. Pretty, she whispered. Hush now. Save your strength. Like stars. All over. She was seeing my scars in the lamplight, the way they caught the glow. Silver against my skin. Stars have scars. Her voice was thread thin. Everything beautiful has scars, sweetheart. That's how you know it survived. She smiled barely there and drifted back to sleep. I sat there, hand on her forehead, feeling the fever start to break. Stars. She'd called my scars stars. When dawn came, Sarah's fever finally broke. She slept peacefully, breathing easy. The worst of it passed. James's relief came out as tears. This Strong, stoic man falling apart in his kitchen chair. I put my hand on his shoulder. Squeezed. Role reversal. I was the strong one now. "She's all right," I said. "She's going to be all right." "I know." His voice broke. "I know. I couldn't lose her. I can't." "You didn't. You won't." He covered my hand with his. We sat like that for a long moment. Two people who understood what loss tasted like. Grateful we wouldn't have to taste it again today. Later, after Sarah woke asking for water and oatmeal. After Samuel climbed into my lap, still scared about his sister. After the crisis had truly passed. James looked at me. "I was wrong in my ad," he said. My heart stopped. Here it came. The rejection. The reality. I said I needed someone strong. He met my eyes. Truth is, I needed you. Specifically, you. Word spread through town somehow. Always did in small places. Elizabeth Brennan saved the Brennan girl's life. Used herbs and old knowledge. The women who'd whispered now nodded cautiously when they saw me. The shopkeeper's wife approached, asked about feverfew. Her daughter was sickly. I told her how to brew it, how to dose a child, how to read a fever's patterns. She thanked me. Actually thanked me. That evening, Samuel crawled into my lap, still shaken from his sister's illness. "Mama Elizabeth," he said. Not Elizabeth. Not Miss Elizabeth. Mama. I didn't correct him. Didn't pull away. Just held him and thought I have a family again. Different from before. Smaller. Scarred. But mine, the cousin arrived on a Saturday. Distant relation. Passing through. Stopped at the ranch because Mary had mentioned where I'd gone. He stepped off his horse, saw me on the porch, and recoiled. Actually stepped backward, like I'd struck him. He recovered poorly. "Elizabeth, my God, I'd heard, but I didn't." He stopped. Started again. "You're very brave, coming all this way." He spoke too slowly. Too loud. As though the scars had affected my hearing or my mind. When James came out to greet him, the cousin gripped his hand. "You're a saint. Brennan," taking her in like this. Taking her in like I was charity. Like I was burden. James's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Offered the cousin supper. A place to sleep. Basic hospitality. I made it through the meal. Through the cousin's pitying looks and careful words. Through his stories about Mary's family. About people I used to know. About a world that had moved on without me. When he finally rode away the next morning, I felt the old voices returning. The ones that said I was fooling myself. That James was kind. But kindness wasn't love. That the children were young and didn't understand. That eventually, they'd see me the way the world did. Damaged. Marred. Burden disguised as blessing. I waited until everyone slept. Then I packed my bag. I'd saved enough from household money for train fare. I'd leave a note. Apologize. Better to leave now, before they were more attached. Before James felt trapped by decency. I was protecting them. That's what I told myself. I was protecting me. Running. I spun. James stood in the doorway. How long had he been there? "Setting you free." I couldn't look at him. The deal was, I could leave any time. The deal changed. No, it didn't. I'm the housekeeper. The children's caretaker, that's all. "You don't owe me." "The deal changed," he repeated. Stepping into the room, not the words of it. The meaning, I don't need a housekeeper anymore. Elizabeth, I need you. Not because you're convenient, because I love you. The words hit like a fist. I stumbled back. You can't. Don't tell me what I feel. Look at me. My voice broke. Really look at me. I'm not whole. I'm not. I see you every day. His voice was rough, almost angry. Not at me for me. I see a woman who survived hell, who loves my children like they're hers, who runs this ranch as well as I do, who has nightmares about fire and gets up the next morning and makes breakfast anyway. You want to know what I see? I see someone beautiful. Stop. Beautiful, including the scars, not despite them, not overlooking them, including them. They're part of your story. Elizabeth, and your story is extraordinary. I don't know how to be loved like this. Neither did I. He took another step closer. We'll learn together. I stood there, bag at my feet, everything I owned ready to run, and James stood in the doorway, asking me to stay. Why? The word came out broken. Why would you choose this? Choose me. Because you choose things too. You chose to write me. Chose to come. Chose to stay these months. You think I'm choosing you? We've been choosing each other all along. I'm just asking you to keep choosing. I couldn't answer, couldn't breathe properly. 3 years of believing love was impossible. And here was this man offering it like water, like air, like something I deserved. You don't have to decide tonight, he said quietly. Just don't decide to leave. Not yet. He left. I sat on the bed, bag at my feet, and didn't sleep. When dawn came, I found him in the barn mending tack. He didn't mention the bag, the almost leaving, his confession of love. Just handed me a cup of coffee and went back to work. Steady, patient, waiting for me to catch up to what he already knew. I stood there holding warm coffee, watching him work, and thought, this is what love looks like. Not lightning, not rescue, just someone who sees you run and chooses to wait for you to come back. I found him by the chicken coop the next morning. We worked in silence for a while, him scattering feed, me collecting eggs, ordinary motions, ordinary day. Except my heart was pounding and I couldn't find the right words. Finally, I just asked, why did you choose me from the letters? I mean, truly. He straightened. Considering, I got a lot of letters. Women listing accomplishments, describing their faces, their figures, promising to be obedient wives. He looked at me. You were the only one who told the truth, even when the truth was hard. The truth was ugly. The truth was honest. He set down the feed bucket. You wrote, the fire took my family and my face. I'm not whole and I'm not pretty, but I'm honest and I'm stubborn. And if you want someone who won't quit when things get hard, I've already proven that. You survived fire. Elizabeth, I needed someone strong. The words hit different this time. Not pity. Not charity. Respect. I'd spent 3 years thinking the fire destroyed me. But he'd seen it different. The fire had tested me. And I'd passed. The scars weren't proof of ending. They were proof of continuing. I need to tell you something. I set down the egg basket, met his eyes. I'm not staying because I have nowhere else to go. Not out of gratitude, not out of duty. Then why? Because I choose this. I choose you. I choose us. He didn't move for a long moment. Then, Elizabeth Brennan, will you marry me? We're already married. The arrangement was practical. This is different. Marry me because you want to, because I love you, because we're building something real. We're standing by a chicken coop. Best proposal spot in Montana territory. I laughed. Actual laughter. That's debatable. So, is that a yes? I already married you at that station, James. I just didn't know it yet. I stepped closer. Yes. I'll marry you again. This time with my whole heart. Not just my desperate hope. Your coffee's still terrible. You know, your tact is worse. But you'll marry me anyway. Not anyway. I touched his face. I'll marry you because of it. Because you're honest. Because you see me. All of me. He kissed me then. Gentle and sure. Like a promise. Like a choice we'd both made and would keep making. Later, I went to my room, found the veil I'd worn at the station, kept in my drawer like a shameful secret. Carried it outside where Sarah and Samuel were playing. What's that? Mama, Samuel asked. Something I don't need anymore. I struck the match, watched it catch. The fabric burned fast. Eager, almost. Why are you burning it? Sarah watched the flames with solemn eyes. I thought about lying, keeping it simple. But children deserved truth. When I first came here, I thought I needed to hide. This veil kept people from seeing my scars. But scars are just proof that I survived something hard. I don't want to hide them anymore. Because Papa loves them, Sarah asked. Because I'm learning to... The veil burned to ash. I watched it lift on the wind and drift away, letting go of the hiding woman, the ashamed woman, the woman who thought scars were the end of her story instead of the middle. Good riddance, Sarah said fiercely. Good riddance. I agreed. That night, James and I sat on the porch, married in truth now, not just arrangement. The children slept inside our children. The ranch spread before us our land. The future opened up our choice. I looked at my scarred hands in my lap and thought, these hands survived fire. They can build anything. The letter came on a Tuesday. 1 year later, neat handwriting, shaking in places. Dear Mrs. Brennan, I heard you survived a fire. That you have scars. That you found a husband who loves you anyway. I was burned 6 months ago. I'm 17. My mother says no one will want me now. Is there hope? Please tell me there's hope. M. I sat at the kitchen table. James's coffee growing cold beside me. Read it twice. 3 times. Then I wrote back, Dear A.M. First, cross out anyway. Your husband won't love you anyway. He'll love you. Full stop. The scars are part of you, not separate from you. Second, there is hope, but not the hope you're looking for. Not hope that scars will fade or people will stop staring. Some people will always stare. The real hope is this. You'll stop caring. Not because you become hard, but because you'll discover your scars tell a story. And it's a story of survival. The right people will see that. The wrong people don't matter. I hid for 3 years. Then I took a chance on a man who saw strength where I saw damage. We built a life. We have children. We have love. Not despite the fire, including it. Your scars don't define you, but they do tell a story. Make sure it's a story of survival, not surrender. The fire happened to you. What you do next, that's your choice. Elizabeth Brennan. I sealed it, posted it in town that afternoon. Sarah was 8 now, teaching Samuel his letters the way I'd taught her. She had my stubbornness, James's steady heart. Samuel was 6, defending a boy at church who'd been teased for a cleft lip. Mama says scars mean you survived something. He'd told the other children, only strong people survive. My lessons, coming back in their voices, in their choices. The ranch had grown. We'd added a room, planted a garden, bought 2 more horses. The town treated me with respect now. Not pity, not tolerance. Respect earned through competence, through saving Sarah's life, through being someone they could count on for herb knowledge and straight talk. The scars that once defined me barely registered in others' eyes anymore. Not because they couldn't see them, because they saw everything else too. James and I had found rhythms. Morning coffee before the children woke, his hand finding mine across the table. Conversations that flowed easy after silence. Love as steady accumulation witnessed days, chosen moments. Building toward something neither of us had expected to find again. I passed a mirror that evening and caught my reflection for the first time in 4 years. I didn't see scars first. I saw a woman who looked like she'd lived, deeply, fully. A face that smiled at her children, frowned in concentration over ledgers, laughed at James's terrible jokes. The scars were there, would always be there. But they'd become part of a whole instead of the entirety. "What are you thinking?" James asked. We were on the porch, watching the children chase fireflies in the gathering dark. That I spent 3 years dead before I was buried. Then I came here and learned to live again. Any regrets? I thought about the attic, the hiding, the years lost to shame. Only that I didn't write you sooner. You wrote when you were ready. I wasn't ready. I was desperate. Same thing, sometimes? We sat in comfortable silence. The ranch settled around us animals bedding down, day releasing into night. Sarah caught a firefly, held it cupped in her hands to show Samuel. Their laughter carried on the evening air. James, thank you for seeing me. Thank you for letting me. He took my scarred hand in his weathered one. Perfect match. Perfect fit. That day at the station, when James lifted my veil, I thought he was choosing me. I understand now we were choosing each other. I gave him honesty. He gave me dignity. I gave him trust. He gave me home. The scars didn't disappear, didn't fade into nothing. They're still there, silver against my skin, visible proof of fire that tried to destroy me. But now when I look in the mirror, I see them different. Not damage, evidence, not ending, continuing. I survived fire. We all do, in one way or another. The flames that test us, the losses that scar us, the trials that leave their marks. True character is revealed through adversity. And the right person doesn't see your scars. They see your survival. They see you, all of you. And they choose you. Not anyway. Not despite. Not overlooking. They choose you. We choose each other.